Been a while, man. Haven't
I
talked to
know.
you in about a
It's
decade.
it's crazy. I know. And I saw your name, I was like, damn, here we go.
Yep, I had to. I was like, man, he's coming. I got to talk to him, and I'm so excited for you guys to come to town again. I know you just toured with Collective Soul last year,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you had a lot of fun. Those guys are amazing. One of the many great '90s bands that we got to play on the radio over the decades, and I'm glad that we're still playing y'all's music because it's timely today too, and we will
Yeah.
talk about that. So, 30 years of Our Lady Peace. You're going on tour. You're going to be at the Keswick on March 28th. How did this leg of the tour come to be? I know you did the last leg. Why did you do this next leg? And you chose the Verve Pipe to play with you as well.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, 2025 is really the 30th anniversary, and we did like an arena tour across Canada, kind of around this time last year through March, and then the plan was to take this in the U.S. And then we got offered this live and the Collective Soul tour, kind of like amphitheaters through the U.S. and just felt like, you know what, that's gonna be a lot of fun. It was kind of like summer camp, but still, got a lot of flack on socials from fans. Are like, look, this is amazing that you guys are on this tour, but we really want to come to see you guys. So we always knew we were gonna, schedule our own headlining tour. So finally got it done. Took a minute, but we're ready to go.
And with your very large discography and all the excellent songs in the library, was it hard to put a time spanning set list together?
Yeah, we're kind of treating it like decades, but also I mean, this is like as much for the fans as it is for us. So wanting them to be part of it. So letting them kind of dictate, even during the show, I have a tech company called Fan Drop that really is all about making live concerts and live events more interactive. So fans will be able to kind of vote live in real time, like on the encore songs, which is pretty cool. And just, yeah, they need to be a part of this. So they need to have a voice.
And how are people going to be involved in the encore voting process? Will they be able to do that at the venues?
Yeah, yeah. You just type in fandrop.com. It's kind of a geolocation platform we built. So type in fandrop.com. They can vote on the encore song. They can also win tons of cool shit. Like we're giving away like signed posters and a free song actually as well, like an unreleased track. So again, it's just to make that live environment more interactive and make the fans feel like they're really a part of it. And to be honest, like reward them for being there. Like it's a big thank you for coming.
You've been doing this for 30 years. Your albums have changed a little bit from album to album because you write differently, and you wrote
Yeah.
Spiritual Machines about 23, 24, 25 years ago, and you spoke about subjects like AI,
I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
things like that when it was just a baby thought at most,
I
in our
know.
minds. I mean, we had heard about it in the 80s and 90s and had been discussed, but not at the level which what we are seeing together. I mean, do you feel prophetic in a way, writing songs
Oh
about stuff
God.
that is happening?
I mean, we didn't make AI up. I mean, this was all Ray Kurzweil, who we became friends with, and it was all based on his book called The Age of Spiritual Machines. But it is pretty fascinating. One, to see all Ray's, all he speaks on the album on Spiritual Machines in between songs. I kind of went through and picked like interstitials, like just key parts of his book that I thought, hey, let's have him. This is what he said in the book. Let's have him say it on the album. See where it goes. And things like, the year is 2029, and the robots will convince us they're human and we'll believe them. That's literally where we're at. Like in the next couple of years, you're going to have these robots that you're going to question if they have consciousness or not. And then all the AI stuff going. I mean, his predictions even went back to like not silly things, but like driverless cars, which we're seeing now all over the place. Things like cochlear implants. I think we've all probably seen online when like a child is born deaf, but now you can reverse that with these cochlear implants, which is fascinating and incredibly inspiring to watch. And 100 other predictions, but the AI part of it is wild because it, like you said, it is like everywhere these days. And Ray was probably the only one really talking about it 25 years ago.
You know, it's fascinating how science fiction has actually turned out to be true in some weird ways. It's almost like they have this vision. It's not a vision or anything like that, but they are able to put together the pieces and see that timeline and see the direction of how things are going. And you're able to do that in your music as well. And it's fascinating to see these parallels and to hear these parallels.
Yeah, I mean, the Spiritual Machines record for us was really about like embracing Ray's thoughts about technology and then using technology in our own right on the album in terms of how some of the music was made. So there's a lot of like sound design going on in the background on a lot of these songs like In Repair and stuff. So I think there was a great parallel there. And yeah, it's fascinating to see that we're at this point when all that stuff's coming true.
It's wild to see, how this has all changed. I mean, I think when we were kids, we probably thought in the year 2000, 2010, we'd have flying cars and things like that. And I remember being a kid and talking about the future, and you see sort of a Jetsons type of future, and we're kind of nowhere near that. But technologically speaking, we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, AI is about to like kind of, I don't know. I have some deep like existential conversations with people about AI and like what's the purpose that people are going to have if there's no jobs left and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what's the purpose right now? Do people really love their jobs? Like, is the idea of being more creative beings and not being tied down to 9 to 5s and then have a side hustle driving Uber or something and to make extra money to pay rent? Like, was that the purpose of us really? I don't know. So I think it's an amazing shift we're going to go through. Obviously there's growing pains with all this stuff, but I think ultimately, technology has always kind of helped us. I think there's always a downside to technology at first, but then we figure it out, it seems.
Absolutely. Now, on this upcoming tour, you have a couple of new songs that are going to be thrown into the set list. Sound the Alarm, which is a beautiful song. I Want a New, I think it's
I want to be your drug. Yeah,
I
yeah,
Want to Be Your Drug is the other
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Um, how did those songs come to be? When did you start writing them, and when did you decide to record them?
Yeah, they were kind of hanging around last year. We went in the studio we went down to Nashville with Nick Raskulinecz, who's, Deftones Foo Fighters. He's a great producer, great guy. And we spent 10 days there and recorded I think 4 songs with him. And it just felt like before we started this whole OLP 30 thing, we had, I had a bunch of songs sitting around. Just felt like, you know what, let's record some new music, give that energy. So it's almost like, we never want this band to feel like it's just like a nostalgic thing. So the music fits in perfectly. It feels very authentic OLP, and it's amazing to have new stuff to play.
I'm glad that you have new stuff to play, and I'm glad that it'll be incorporated into the set list. And I know that
Yeah.
here in Philly, we're looking forward to your set list. Now, when you were a young band 30 years ago, playing the scene, trying to get noticed and signed, was the dream for you to still be doing this 30 years later?
That's a good question. I mean, never think of it that far. It's always like, hey, can we get a song on the radio? Can we get a record deal? Can we do a tour? And as you progress, you're just kind of like, you're always thinking about me. It's really about songs. So it's like, hey, where does this, what do I feel like writing about now? Where does the new sound go? How do we challenge ourselves creatively? And then all of a sudden you look up and it's 30 years later. It's wild.
Now, originally you were called As If before you changed your
Oh,
name
damn, you're
to
going deep.
Our Lady Peace. How did the name As If come about?
That band was like, I'm not gonna say it was a joke, but it was kind of like we weren't really sure about what was going on, so we didn't put a lot of thought or seriousness into like that part of that era of the band. It was like, hey, let's see what happens, even in terms of like who was in the band, blah blah blah. So it was that early inception. I wouldn't take it seriously, and that was probably why the name was like that.
When did you change your name to Our Lady Peace, and what prompted the change from not as serious to more serious?
We went and did some demos, probably in like 92. And I just felt like, okay, this is actually where I see the sound going. And it just felt real. Like it felt like, okay, we're on to something. And so all of a sudden it was like, look, that name was kind of was a joke. But I was actually in college at the University of Toronto and was taking literature courses, and this old poem by this guy named Mark Van Doren that was called Our Lady Peace, who's um kind of like a Pied Piper guy that went from town to town spreading money, and it just felt like, okay, that's a plane we can get on and get on board, and it felt like that was the way to go with the name.
Yeah, I read the poem before our interview. I
Oh,
printed it
cool.
out,
Sick,
so
sick, sick. Yeah.
I was like, I got to do that. And you released 3 songs in your first demo as if. Were you already, when you released the Birdman Out of Here in the Untitled track with Mike Turner and Jim Newell, were you already in the process of flipping to more seriousness and like deciding, hey, this is what we want to do?
Yeah, I mean, you always know, like for me, it was always just, I knew I wanted to do this. It was just, how do we get there? And it wasn't until we finally did those demos that it felt like, okay, like we're on again, like this feels real. And so it was like, hey, okay, now we got to go find a manager. And I went down to CMJ in New York, I think that summer, and handed out those demos. And that's really what got us signed.
I also found this old story with Alan Cross, an afternoon DJ on the Edge over in Canada, and he had gotten a demo from Jeremy Taggart in 1993. And that was an early Our Lady Peace demo. What were the songs on that demo? Were they Blind Anniversary and Out of Here, or were they like Super Satellite, Denied, and Big Neon Crossing?
It was those 3, because Alan's like, it's kind of like our Matt Pinfield. He's like this music encyclopedia, was on the alternative station in Toronto forever. I think he still is, really. But yeah, we kind of, and it's funny, they were demos, but that was really the record, because what had happened was when we signed our deal, we were making those demos per se, but like the record company's like, hey, we think these sound great. Just keep recording these, and hopefully in a couple months we have a record we can put out. So yeah, we kind of gave those first few to Alan just to get, I always respected Alan, still do, and so to get kind of his take on what we were doing and what he thought was kind of important to us. So it was kind of a cool moment.
That is really cool. I love finding stories like that about bands trying to, pounding the pavement and trying to get the word out about your band. And so to hear stories like that, and then to see the pictures of the old demo cassettes and stuff like that.
Oh man, I know. We brought back cassettes last tour. I'm not sure if we have them on this run, but cassettes are dope. Like they're so fun to just look at and hold. Like my kids don't have an idea what you would do with it, but you know what I mean? But they're sick.
Yep, pop it in the car, man. Remember that feeling of popping the cassette in the car and go
rewinding, like all that stuff. That was craziness.
Yep. The good old days of early analog technology.
Yeah.
After Spiritual Machines, which all of your music had been produced by Arnold Land up until that point, Spiritual Machines, it was you, Arnold Land, and Brendan O'Brien. But then in 2002's Gravity, you made the switch to Bob Rock. What prompted that switch?
I think as creatives, it's like we had a great time working with Arnold on those first few records, but you just you feel like you don't hit a wall, but it's like, hey, what would happen if we really mixed it up? And I think everyone was at that time and place where it just felt like, yeah, it's not for change sake, but just something different. And even in terms of where we were going to record, we'd made all our records in this small little studio kind of west of Toronto in an industrial space, and it was fine and it was cool, but it was like we met Bob, and Bob has a studio on Maui, and it was like, oh damn, this would be fun. And then Bob had come off the Black album, and was it just felt like, hey, we actually wanted to get back to like a simpler rock sound too, because we really gone far on experimenting, like I said, with Spiritual Machines, with like sound design and all these crazy kind of different textures. And it was like, hey, how about if we just got back to basics? What would that feel like? And so bringing in Bob was kind of the perfect cure to that, really.
One of your first hits that I started playing in rock radio was Navid at a station in Denver called 92X. And I still remember hearing that for the first time. And I was actually thinking about that, and I got the goosebumps I got when I first heard Navid. It's one of those songs that has given me goosebumps every time I hear it. And if I'm not mistaken, it is a Persian word that means, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on it.
Bearer of good news.
Bearer of good news, correct.
Yeah.
How did that song evolve after Chris's bass line sort of got the ball rolling on it?
Yeah, like it felt like it was a thing. It had this amazing energy to it. And it felt kind of like, I'm not going to say Middle Eastern, but I was definitely exploring those themes on that first album. And, we were working long days in the studio, and there was some friends of mine from like high school that would always play like pickup basketball, actually not too far from our studio. And so once in a while I'd like just need to decompress. I go, and I'm terrible at basketball, but I just go hang with them and kind of play hoops for a minute. But a friend of mine, his name's Navid. And we were just sitting there after hooping for a minute. I was like, dude, never asked you, like, what does your name actually mean? Is there a meaning behind it? And he said, yeah, bearer of good news. And it just felt like, wow, it was just very inspiring. And so I just use that for the name of Navid. I never say it in, really, it's not like the chorus of the song. But yeah, it's just, it became this, I don't know, just very aspirational, uplifting, and it really set the tone for the record, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a great song, and it's so positive, and you feel good when you listen to it, which
is
what music is supposed to do. What was the idea for the song Superman's Dead that was instrumental in the creation of the song?
Yeah, I just felt like there's two different things. There's like, I grew up a huge fan of Superman, like the Marvel character. But I also grew up on like philosophy and like Nietzsche and the idea of the super id and like that being within us, which is, really reflective of Superman. And I just felt like when we were making that album, I don't know, it was a pretty tumultuous time. We had success, and it felt like, the record company wanted us to go back in the studio, and they were expecting big things. So all of a sudden, for the first time, we had like this pressure on us. And it was stressful, and I just felt like the world felt like this. And I took the subway a lot in Toronto, like go down and buy records when I was a kid. And I always loved sitting on the subway and just watching everything go by so fast. And it just struck me one day as I was kind of writing the song, like that's what the world feels like to me in this music bubble as well. It's like everything's happening so quickly. But in a weird way, I never wanted to slow it down. But it just felt like something had died in me, where it's like I couldn't control it anymore. And that was really kind of the philosophy behind Superman's Dead. It's like that innocence you have when you're making your first album, when you're a young artist and you don't know anything about the business. That was gone.
Wow, thank you. Your tour begins March 4th. Or March 5th in Chicago, and it ends April 4th in Pittsburgh. You're taking the Verve Pipe with you. Why should people come out and see Our Lady Peace and the Verve Pipe on this tour?
I just think this is going to be such a, like, there will be nostalgia. And I think those feelings that you had, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, probably listening to both bands, like there's such comfort in that, and I see that in the audience. But then, I think both bands have evolved a lot, and there's been new music, and I think so. You kind of get the best of both worlds. And I think live music today is, especially when you start talking about AI, the idea of seeing music live is like that last kind of like human, like really super powerful human connection. I think sports does it as well. But you can't control sports, where you can control like going to see a band and escaping for a few hours, and there's nothing like that.
Yeah, music is fundamentally important in escape and in living life. It's so important, and it's one way that music is one thing that unites people. It's one of the most powerful uniters of people. I was reading a study late night working, and it was a study done by Stanford, and they said that at a concert, when people sing together, eventually their hearts start beating in unison.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, there's something about that where I've seen on like music therapy where like kids suffering from whatever like panic attacks or something in the hospital, and a friend of mine who works at Vanderbilt, she would go in with acoustic guitar and start playing kind of like punk rock and seeing his heart rate, and then start just slowly playing slower, and his heart rate would come down with the guitar. And so you're right, like music is so incredible. I love what you said about it's the one thing that um yeah, it breaks down all those barriers, and we're in such a time when it feels like everything is so divided and tribal. It's like music can be the one thing where you can let that stuff go for a few hours.
Yeah, yeah. The tribal division is real. It's tough, and it's I think tough on everybody, no matter who you are, because we're seeing spiked levels of stress.
Oh,
Suicide
every
rates are so
everyone,
high.
we it's like we all wake up on an 8 on the stress level, which is not good, and take that into your day, and it's just it's like you said, it's way too stressful on everybody, really.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think music is one of the most perfect escapes out there. It's a great way to connect with people, and hopefully, people will come to the Keswick March 28th in
Please do.
Philadelphia to see you guys play. Now, let's see. Oh, yes. So, in the last couple years, you've written a few new songs. 4 you recorded down at the Harvest, at the studio where Neil Young recorded Harvest.
Mm.
Are you still writing music? Do you plan on putting a new album out, or because of technology today, are you just going to release songs?
I don't know. I was literally recording a song before we got on this Zoom. Yeah, new music incredibly important. I'm always writing. Yeah, how you release it, I don't know. I honestly don't know. That's such a great question. The way we released these last 3 songs, kind of like I think what you for us, I think the future is like you release songs, and then once we have a bunch, we'll package them up, give it a name, and like press vinyl. But
Hmm.
I don't know about the idea of like we're gonna go like put ourselves away for 2 months in the studio and then come out with the album and just put it out anymore.
Hmm.
I think I love the idea of letting fans hear a song, and then a few weeks later hear another song, and kind of having that cadence with them. And it not like on a marketing level, just like, hey, that's kind of cool. It's like the idea of your band is working all the time, and something's going to come out, every few weeks is I never used to be able to do that. It was always like the record company controlled how you put out music. Now that we have that freedom, I think that's it's pretty liberating.
Excellent. And are you? What do you do during downtime now? Like, what do you do to keep busy, to keep active besides music? Is there anything else that you're doing to stay active?
Yeah, we've been so on the OLP Arena tour we did across Canada, you know, shows were selling out. It was going to be amazing, and everyone was like, "You guys got to document this. Like, get a film crew on and make sure you capture all this." And I was like, "Yeah, I get it, but that's just like pretty cliche in my mind." And I was like, "What can we do that's different? And how do we tell our story without us just sitting like being interviewed backstage and then shots of like rock document?" I was like, that just is cringy to me. So we've had this fan from New York. She lives in Yonkers now. Her name's Gail Lickman, and she's just been this steadfast, insane fan that has been to, I think she hit 150 shows last year. And so it was like I've always had questions for Gail, because she works for New York Transit. Like, she has her booth, I think it's in Yonkers, or in the Bronx, but she goes there every day, wakes up at 5:30, her shift starts at 6:30, works her butt off, and then she'll go fly to shows. Like, she's seen us in Europe, she's seen us, from like, here in LA to up in Canada. Anyway, she said she was coming on this tour and she was going to see like 8 shows. And I never want to get too personal, but I was just in my head, I'm like, how are you able to do that? Like, are you flying home to work for a few days in between shows? Like, anyway, so a friend of mine is a film director in LA. I just said, hey, would you think about like documenting this woman Gail, this super fan we have, and she's really cool. Again, she can be tough because she's a New Yorker, but like just curious what would happen. And he was like, that sounds cool. So we didn't know what it was going to be, but 4 months later, I'm sitting and we have like a team of people. I won't name names right now, but some big like directors and editors that saw the footage and was like, this is crazy good. And so they got involved. And so it's almost done now. And we'll start doing the festival circuit, probably late summer and the fall, like TIFF in Toronto, Telluride, Berlin, the London festival. Like it's pretty special, and it's not really about us. It's really about what we're talking about, that human need to like connect through music and how important live music is to our souls. And it really showcases that with Gail. It's called Gail. It's wild.
That is awesome, and that sounds really cool. Are you writing a book by chance? Are you doing any? Because you said you write a lot, so I know you write songs, but do you write anything else?
Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I have a music project together as well. It's much more like, I don't know, Nick Cave meets PJ Harvey, but we have a book coming. We have a book coming out that accompanies this next album as well. So that all happens in September.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And are you going to do any more live dates? Another 30 leg, another 30 tour leg after this leg, or are you heading over to Europe to do festivals and things like that?
No, we just took a festival in September in Kentucky called Bourbon and Beyond.
Hmm.
And so we didn't get a chance to put any West Coast dates on this run. And so we're gonna probably after that show in Kentucky, that festival, probably do like a West Coast leg to fulfill that, because I feel bad that we weren't able to do it on this. But we kind of ran up when this thing ends, like in April. It was like, okay, should we go to LA? And it's like, yo, that's like Coachella time. So it just felt like, you know what, let's hold off. So we'll get back to it in the fall.
Thank you very much for your time, Raine.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Marcus. Appreciate it. Good to see you again, dude.
Thank you. Good to see you, and we'll see you at the Keswick at the end of March.
Awesome, man.